The dust on 442B was red like rust and got into everything. Dr. Jinwoo Park wiped his goggles for the third time that hour and stared at the wall in front of him. It was not a natural formation. The stones were too perfect, too smooth, and they were definitely arranged by intelligent hands. The problem was that these stones were older than any civilization humans had ever discovered. Jinwoo, you need to see this, called from deeper in the excavation site. Her voice echoed through the narrow passage they had carved into the hillside. Jinwoo squeezed through the tight space, his breath fogging inside his helmet. The colony on 442B was only 5 years old, and most of the planet remained unexplored. They had come looking for minerals. Instead, they had found something impossible. The chamber stood in took Jinwoo's breath away. It was massive, easily the size of a football stadium, and every surface glowed with a soft blue light. In the center stood a crystal structure that reached from floor to ceiling. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "How old is this?" Jinwoo whispered. "The dating equipment says 42 million years," replied. Her hands shook as she held up her scanner. "But that can't be right. Nothing could last that long." Captain Wu Nam entered the chamber behind them, his rifle ready. He was supposed to protect the science team from wildlife, but there was no wildlife on this dead moon. "Is it safe?" he asked. "I don't know," Jinwoo admitted. He stepped closer to the crystal. Symbols covered its surface, thousands of them, maybe millions. They shifted and changed as he watched. "Can you read any of this?" Approached carefully. She was the best linguist in the colony, fluent in 15 Earth languages and 3 alien ones. But these symbols were different. She studied them for a long moment, her eyes moving rapidly. "It's not a language," she finally said. "It's mathematics, universal mathematics." "Can you translate it?" Wu asked. "Give me time," pulled out her portable computer and began taking pictures. The symbols continued to shift and change. After 20 minutes, her face went pale. "Oh no." "What is it?" Jinwoo moved to her side. "It's a message, a warning." His voice was barely audible. "It says, 'To those who follow know what we have done. We are the precursors. We seeded the stars with life. We created you so the universe would not be empty, but we made a mistake.'" The crystal suddenly flared brighter. A hologram appeared above it, showing star systems, planets, and strange creatures Jinwoo had never seen before. The image shifted to show Earth, blue and green and beautiful. "We created many species," continued reading. "We designed them to be peaceful, intelligent, and long-lived. We gave them everything they needed. But one world gave us something we did not plan. One world created itself. One species emerged from chaos, not design. They came from a world of ice and fire, of predators and prey, of constant death and constant survival." The hologram showed humans evolving, fighting, building, and reaching toward the stars. Jinwoo felt a chill run down his spine. "We tried to stop them," read. "We sent asteroids, we sent plagues, we sent ice ages, but they survived everything. They adapted, they learned, they thrived. And so we left them this warning for all our other children." "Warning about what?" Wu asked, his grip tightening on his rifle. His voice shook as she read the final passage. "Beware the ones who refuse to kneel. Beware those born of blue skis and water. They will not stop. They cannot stop. They are mankind." The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the crystal. Jinwoo stared at the hologram, watching ancient humans hunt mammoths with stone spears. "This doesn't make sense," he said. "The precursors created all the other species in the galaxy." "According to this, yes," confirmed. The Vex, all of them were designed by the precursors millions of years ago. But humans evolved naturally on Earth. We weren't supposed to exist." "And that scares them," Wu sounded insulted. "We're the mistake." "Not a mistake," corrected. "An accident, an unpredicted variable." She gestured to the hologram, which now showed human cities, human ships, and human colonies spreading across space. "Look at the timeline. The took 50,000 years to develop space flight. The Vex took 70,000. Humans did it in less than 10,000, and most of that time we spent fighting each other. Jinwoo studied the crystal more closely. Is there more? Does it say what happened to the precursors? Worked her computer, accessing deeper levels of the archive. There's more data here than we could read in a lifetime, but the main message keeps repeating. It's a warning to all the other species. Do not underestimate mankind. Do not try to control them. Do not try to stop them. They survive their own world. They will survive anything you do to them. This is going to cause problems, Wu said flatly, if the Galactic Council finds out about this. They need to know, Jinwoo interrupted. This is the most important discovery in human history. We just found proof that we're the only natural intelligence in the galaxy. Everything else was designed. And we're the thing the designers warned about, added quietly. The crystal pulsed again, and new symbols appeared. Gasped. There's more. It says the precursors left these warnings on hundreds of worlds. They wanted to make sure every species they created would know about us before they met us. How long ago did they leave these messages? Jinwoo asked. The crystal was activated 42 million years ago, said, but the message was recorded earlier, much earlier. The precursors have been watching humanity since we were still climbing trees. Wu activated his communication device. I need to report this to command. They'll want to send more people. Wait, Jinwoo held up his hand. The hologram was changing again, showing something new. It displayed Earth's solar system, then zoomed out to show the local galactic cluster. Red markers appeared on dozens of stars. What are those? Checked her readings, coordinates. The precursors left archives on multiple worlds. This is just one of them. She paused, her eyes widening. One of those markers is in council space, right in the heart of their central government. So they already know, Wu said. Maybe, Jinwoo replied. Or maybe they've been hiding it. Either way, we need to get this information to Earth immediately. The crystal suddenly went dark. The hologram vanished. For a moment the chamber was completely black. Then emergency lights kicked in, and Jinwoo could see and Wu's faces in the red glow. Did we break it? Wu asked. No, said, checking her equipment. It finished its message, but I downloaded everything before it shut down. We have all the data. Jinwoo looked around the ancient chamber one last time. Somewhere in the distant past, the precursors had stood in places like this, building their warnings, trying to prepare their children for humanity. It had been millions of years, but their message was clear. Be careful. Humans are different. As they made their way back to the surface, Jinwoo wondered what would happen when the galaxy learned the truth. Would they fear humanity more? Would they try to contain them? Or would they do exactly what the precursors warned against and try to stop them? The red dust swirled around them as they emerged into the daylight. Above them, stars dotted the alien sky. Somewhere out there, other species were living their lives, not knowing that an ancient prophecy had just been uncovered, not knowing that the thing their creators feared most was already spreading across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were the warning. The Galactic Council station floated in the Andromeda sector like a small moon. It was beautiful, made of materials that changed color with the light, and it represented the unity of 47 different species. Today, that unity was breaking apart. Ambassador Lee stood in the central chamber, surrounded by aliens of every shape and size. Some had multiple eyes. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few breathed methane and sat in protective bubbles. But they all shared one thing. They were all staring at her with fear. You lied to us, said calmly. She held up a data pad containing the precursor archive from 442B. You've known about the prophecy for centuries. Regent rose from his seat. He was old, even by his species' standards, and his scales had turned white with age. Ambassador Lee, you must understand our position. The fragments we possessed were incomplete. We did not know they referred to your species specifically. Fragments? The assistant Sung stepped forward. He was military intelligence, dressed in civilian clothes, but everyone in the room knew what he was. We've checked the records. 17 different council species have precursor sites on their worlds. All of them contain warnings about humanity. All of them. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke in electronic tones. The warnings were vague: blue world, waterborne, those who refuse to surrender. We did not connect these to Earth until your species achieved spaceflight. And then you did everything you could to slow us down, Sora Bay said. She was Earth's security chief, and she had spent the last 3 days reviewing classified documents. Trade restrictions, technology embargoes, closed borders. You've been boxing humanity in since first contact. The chamber erupted in multiple languages. Translators struggled to keep up. Let them argue for a minute before raising her hand. Silence, please. The noise died down, settled back into his seat. What would you have us do, Ambassador? The prophecy clearly states that humanity is dangerous. The prophecy states that we're unstoppable, corrected. There's a difference. We haven't attacked anyone. We haven't conquered anyone. We've been peaceful members of this council for 20 years. But for how long? A bird-like alien with silver feathers stood. Your history is written in blood. Your world has seen countless wars. Your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times with nuclear weapons, biological plagues, and climate disasters. And yet you survived. That is what frightens us. Sung brought up a hologram showing human history. Cities rising and falling. Wars spreading across continents. Plagues killing millions. Yes, we fought. Yes, we nearly destroyed ourselves, but we learned, we grew, we reached the stars. Exactly, said softly. You survived things that would have ended any other species. The precursors tried to stop you. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes. You survived them all. What does that make you? Adaptable, replied. Stubborn, determined, but not monsters. A reptilian delegate hissed. The prophecy says you cannot be stopped, cannot be contained, that you will break any chain and defy any authority. How are we supposed to trust that? Sora pulled up more data. Because we've already proven it. 20 years of peaceful cooperation. We've shared our technology. We've helped defend council worlds from pirates. We've even accepted your restrictions without complaint. Until now, observed. Until now, agreed. Because now we know the truth. You haven't been cautious, you've been afraid, and fear makes people do terrible things. The chamber fell silent. Sung stepped closer to and whispered, We have a problem. My sources say there's a faction within the council planning something extreme. How extreme? Kept her voice low. They're talking about a preemptive strike on Earth. His blood ran cold. She looked at, studying his face. The old regent's expression was troubled but not surprised. You knew about this, she said. I know many things, Ambassador, replied. I know there are those who believe humanity must be contained by force. I know they are growing in number. And I know that if they act, they will prove the prophecy correct. What do you mean? Sora demanded. Stood and walked to the center of the chamber. For a moment, he looked even older, tired beyond measure. The prophecy doesn't just warn about humanity's strength. It warns about what happens when you try to stop them. If you strike at mankind, you will unite them. If you try to destroy them, you will forge them into something unstoppable. So you're saying if someone attacks Earth, humanity will retaliate, Sung said. Worse, replied. They will transform. Your species has a saying, yes. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. For humanity, this is literally true. Every threat you face makes you more dangerous, more determined, more innovative. Felt the weight of those words. She thought about human history, Rome falling and rising again, nations collapsing and being reborn. Humanity always came back stronger. Then help us prevent this. Stop the faction planning the attack. I cannot, said sadly. I am one voice among many. The council is divided. Half believe we should make peace with humanity. Half believe we should strike first while we still can. The bird-like alien spoke again. We have studied your wars, Ambassador Lee, your World War II, your Vietnam, your Afghanistan. You have lost battles, but you have never truly lost a war. You simply change, adapt, and come back with a new strategy. And you find that threatening, said. We find it terrifying, the alien admitted. Our species fought one war in our entire history. It lasted 3 months and killed 12,000 of our people. We vowed never to fight again. Humans fought wars that killed millions and kept fighting. That is not normal. Sung pulled aside. I need to report this to Earth. They need to prepare. Not yet, whispered. If Earth starts mobilizing, it will look like confirmation of everything the Council fears. We need to buy time. Time for what? Time to show them they're wrong about us. She turned back to the Council. I want to show you something. Data from our colony worlds. Real information, not propaganda. The hologram changed. It showed human colonies across a dozen worlds. People farming, building, teaching, and living ordinary lives. Children playing. Scientists researching. Artists creating. This is humanity, said. Yes, we can fight. Yes, we can survive terrible things. But look at what we do when we're not fighting. We build, we create, we explore, we dream. Dreams can be dangerous, noted. So can fear, countered. The precursors feared us so much they tried to kill us multiple times. It didn't work. Fear won't work for you either. A delegate with blue skin and 4 arms stood. What do you propose, Ambassador? I propose you judge us by our actions, not by an ancient prophecy. Give us a chance to prove we can be trusted. Don't let fear drive you to do something you'll regret. And if the radicals attack anyway? The blue-skinned alien asked. His expression hardened. Then the prophecy will prove itself true. Because if you attack Earth, if you attack our families and our children, then yes, we will respond. And we will not stop until the threat is eliminated. The chamber erupted again. Some delegates shouted in anger, others in fear, a few in what might have been agreement. Sung leaned close to, that wasn't very diplomatic. I'm done being diplomatic, replied. They need to understand that we're not asking for permission to exist. We're warning them about what happens if they try to make us stop existing. Raised his hand for silence. I propose we table this discussion for 3 days. Let us all consider what has been said. Let cooler heads prevail. The motion was accepted barely. As the delegates filed out, felt exhausted, Sora approached her. That could have gone better. It could have gone worse, replied. At least now we know where everyone stands. The question is, what do we do about it? Sung asked. Looked out the observation window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth spun peacefully, unaware of the threat gathering. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and we make damn sure that if anyone does attack Earth, they regret it. The prophecy, Sora said quietly. The prophecy, agreed. Maybe the precursors were right about us. Maybe we are unstoppable, but that doesn't mean we're evil. It just means we refuse to give up. As they left the chamber, none of them noticed the small recording device hidden in the ceiling, and none of them knew that the radical faction had already made their decision. The attack would come within the week. The prophecy was about to be tested. Admiral Dong Song was drinking coffee when the alarm started. He looked at his screen and watched his worst nightmare unfold. 50 alien warships had just appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. More were jumping in every second. All hands to battle stations, he ordered calmly. His voice echoed through every ship in the Earth Defense Fleet. This is not a drill. The defense grid around Earth lit up like a constellation. Weapons platforms, satellites, and defense stations activated. Dong had 32 ships under his command. The enemy had already brought 70, and more kept arriving. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer said. "Put it through." An alien face appeared on screen. It had too many eyes and spoke in broken English. "Human fleet, you will stand down. The Council has decided that your species is too dangerous to exist. Surrender Earth peacefully, and we will relocate survivors to designated zones." Dong took a sip of his coffee. "That's a negative. This is our home. If you want it, come and take it." The transmission cut off. For a moment, space was silent. Then the alien fleet opened fire. Ah was sitting in her fighter cockpit when the first shots hit. She was 24 years old, cocky, and considered one of the best pilots in the fleet. "Dragon Squadron, form up on me," she ordered. "Let's show these bastards how humans fight." 12 fighters screamed away from the carrier. They were tiny compared to the alien capital ships, like insects attacking whales. But Ah had learned something important in flight school. Size didn't matter if you were fast enough. "Break and scatter," she commanded. The squadron split apart, each pilot going a different direction. The aliens had to divide their fire. Ah dove under a massive cruiser, her fighter so close she could see the hull panels. She fired her missiles at point-blank range into their engine port. The cruiser exploded. "That's one," Ah said. "Who's next?" The alien fleet commander watched in confusion as the human fighters darted through his formation. They were doing things that should have torn their ships apart. The G-forces should have killed the pilots. But they kept coming, kept attacking, kept dying and taking his ships with them. "Why don't they retreat?" he asked his tactical officer. "They're protecting their home world, sir." "But they're losing. They must see they're losing." "I don't think they care, sir." On Earth's surface, Dr. Myung-han worked frantically in her laboratory. She was a quantum physicist, and for the last 5 years she had been studying precursor technology in secret. Now it was time to see if her theories worked. "The disruptors are ready," she told the defense coordinator. "But I need to warn you, this is experimental. It could work perfectly, or it could blow up half the planet." "Can it stop those ships?" the coordinator asked. Mi-young looked at her calculations one more time. "Yes, probably, maybe." "Good enough, activate them." Mi-young entered the activation code. Around the planet, hidden installations came to life. They had been disguised as communication towers, weather stations, and research facilities. Now they revealed their true purpose: quantum disruptors that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. The alien ships suddenly found their weapons malfunctioning. Their shields flickered. Their engines stuttered. The disruptors were creating fields of quantum uncertainty that made advanced technology unreliable. "What's happening?" the alien commander demanded. "The humans have deployed some kind of weapon," his science officer reported. "It's interfering with our systems at the quantum level. I've never seen anything like it." "Then fall back to minimum safe distance and bombard the planet from there." "Sir, if we do that, we'll kill every living thing on Earth, including humans." "That's the point." But before they could retreat, Admiral Dong made his move. His remaining ships formed a wall between Earth and the alien fleet. "All ships, full power to forward shields. Don't let anything through." Ah regrouped her squadron, now down to 8 fighters. "Admiral, we can't hold this line. There are too many of them." "Then we'll buy time until help arrives," Dong replied. "What help? We're all there is." "I know, but they don't." It was a bluff, but the aliens hesitated. And in that moment of hesitation, something unexpected happened. The civilians of Earth fought back. Min-oh had been a schoolteacher before the attack. Now he stood on a rooftop in Seoul with a makeshift rocket launcher. Around him, thousands of other civilians had armed themselves with everything from hunting rifles to homemade explosives. "They think we'll just hide and wait to die," he said to the people around him. "They're wrong. If those ships get through the fleet, we're going to make them regret landing." The aliens watched in disbelief as Earth's cities transformed into fortresses. Buildings were barricaded. Streets were turned into kill zones. Millions of humans prepared to fight with whatever they had. "This is insane," the alien tactical officer said. "They're civilians. They have no military training." "Check human history," another officer suggested. "Check their guerrilla wars, their resistance movements. These civilians are often more dangerous than their soldiers." The alien commander felt a chill. The prophecy had warned about this. Humans who refused to surrender. Humans who turned everything into a weapon, including themselves. Dong saw an opportunity. The alien formation had gotten sloppy, confused by the quantum disruptors and the unexpected civilian resistance. "All ships, attack formation Omega." "Sir, that's a suicide formation," his first officer protested. "I know, do it anyway." The Earth ships charged forward, not in a careful tactical approach, but in a straight line at full speed. The aliens scattered, trying to avoid collision. 3 human ships made it through the enemy formation. 2 of them rammed alien dreadnoughts, destroying both ships in massive explosions. Ah watched in horror and pride as the capital ships sacrificed themselves. "They died to protect us," she whispered. "Then let's make sure they didn't die for nothing," another pilot replied. "Dragon Squadron, one more run. Target their command ship." 8 fighters dove toward the largest alien vessel. They were met with a wall of fire. 6 fighters died in seconds. And 1 other pilot made it through. They fired everything they had into the command ship's bridge. The alien commander had just enough time to realize he had made a terrible mistake. Humanity wasn't strong because of their technology or their numbers. They were strong because they simply refused to lose, even when losing was the logical outcome. The bridge exploded. The command ship began to drift, and suddenly the alien fleet didn't know what to do. Mi-young activated the second phase of her plan. The quantum disruptors shifted frequency, creating a pulse that fried every alien computer within lunar orbit. Half the enemy fleet went dark, dead in space. The remaining aliens finally understood what they were facing. This wasn't a military they could defeat. This was a species that would drag themselves through hell before surrendering, a species that armed their civilians, a species that turned their pilots into missiles, a species that weaponized their own planet. "Retreat," the alien second-in-command ordered. "Signal all ships, full retreat." But it was too late. Reinforcements were arriving, not from human space, but from unexpected allies. 3 council species that had been secretly sympathetic to humanity sent their fleets. They hadn't planned to fight, but watching humanity's desperate defense changed their minds. The tide turned. The alien attackers found themselves surrounded. Most surrendered. Some tried to run and were destroyed. When the battle ended, Dong looked at his casualty reports and felt sick. 26 of his 32 ships were gone, over 15,000 personnel dead, and that was just the military. The civilian casualties were still being counted. But Earth still stood. Landed her damaged fighter on the carrier deck. She climbed out, exhausted, and found herself surrounded by cheering crew members. She had been the only pilot from Dragon Squadron to survive. "How do you feel?" a reporter asked, camera in hand. I thought about her fallen comrades, about the civilians who had taken up arms, about the admiral who had ordered ships to ram the enemy. "Tired," she finally said, "and angry and alive." Min stood on his rooftop and watched the alien ships retreat. Around him, civilians lowered their weapons and began to cry, some from relief, some from loss, all from the realization that they had almost lost everything. Mi-young shut down the quantum disruptors and collapsed in her chair. The technology had worked, but she had been right about the risk. One of the installations had exploded, killing everyone inside. She would have to live with that. On the council station, watched the battle reports with beside her. The old regent was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The prophecy was right. You tried to destroy them and you only made them stronger. They're not stronger, replied quietly. They're traumatized, hurt, afraid, but you're right about one thing, they won't forgive this. The Council just made an enemy they can never unmake. What will Earth do now? Asked. Looked at the casualty numbers. 15,000 military dead, 40,000 civilian casualties, entire cities damaged. What any wounded animal does, she said. They'll make sure this never happens again. The siege of Earth was over, but the real war was just beginning. Because humanity had learned a terrible lesson. They couldn't trust the galaxy to leave them in peace. And if peace wasn't an option, they would show the galaxy exactly why the precursors had been afraid. 3 months after the siege, General Sung Ho stood in the war room looking at a map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Council military installations. Blue markers showed human positions. And green markers showed something new, alien species who had contacted Earth in secret. How many have reached out? He asked his intelligence officer. 23 species so far, the officer replied. Most are colonies or protectorates under Council control. They saw what Earth did and want our help. Sung Ho studied the map carefully. He was old for a general, almost 60, with gray hair and tired eyes, but his mind was sharp. They don't want our help, they want our protection. They think we can free them. Can we? Admiral Dong asked. He had recovered from the battle but moved slower now, favoring his right leg where shrapnel had torn through it. That depends, Sung Ho replied. Are we ready to go to war with the entire Galactic Council? We're already at war, Dong pointed out. They just don't know it yet. Park entered the room. She was a diplomat, young and idealistic, but the siege had changed her. She carried herself differently now, with a hardness that hadn't been there before. General, I have the complete translation of the prophecy. All of it, not just the fragments. Show me. Activated the hologram. The precursor symbols appeared along with her translation. It's longer than we thought. The part about humanity being unstoppable was just the beginning. Listen to this. They will break every chain, defy every tyrant, and die 1,000 deaths before accepting defeat. You cannot cage them. You cannot break them. They will drag themselves through hell and call it Tuesday. Dong almost smiled. That sounds about right. There's more, continued. Where others see walls, they see challenges. Where others see death, they see a setback. They will turn their enemies' weapons against them. They will learn from every defeat. And when they have nothing left, they will weaponize hope itself. Weaponize hope, Sung Ho repeated. What does that mean? I think it means we inspire others, said. The species contacting us aren't doing it because they think we're strong. They're doing it because we survived. We showed them it's possible to fight back. A communication request came through. Sung Ho accepted it. Captain Wu Nam appeared on screen. He was on a deep space mission far from Earth. General, you need to see this. The image shifted to show an alien world. Cities were burning. People were rioting in the streets. This is, or prime, capital of the empire. They're one of the Council's founding members. What happened? Dong asked. We happened, Wu replied. News of Earth's defense spread. The lower castes saw that humans, a species with less technology and fewer ships, held off a Council fleet. They're demanding their own government step down and make peace with Earth. Similar riots are happening on 6 other Council worlds. Sung Ho felt a chill. We're not trying to start a revolution. We don't have to, said. We already did. The Council controlled these species by making them believe resistance was impossible. We proved that wrong. Another communication came in, this time from Ambassador Lee on the Council station. She looked exhausted. General, I have news. The Council is fracturing. 3 species have formally withdrawn from the alliance. 5 more are considering it, and the moderate faction wants to negotiate peace with Earth. What about the radicals who attacked us? Sung Ho demanded. Most of their fleet was destroyed or captured. Their leaders are on trial. But here's the interesting part. Many Council species are demanding humanity be given a seat on the Council Security Committee. Dong laughed. They tried to kill us 3 months ago, and now they want us on their ruling committee. They're afraid, explained. If they don't make peace with us, we'll ally with their rebellious colonies and tear the Council apart from within. Sung Ho considered this. Set up a meeting. I want to talk to the Council leadership directly. 2 weeks later, Sung Ho, Dong, and stood in the Council chamber. Regent was there, along with representatives from all 47 member species. But now, those species were clearly divided into 3 groups: those who feared humanity, those who admired them, and those who wanted to use them. "Thank you for coming," began. "We have much to discuss." "You attacked our home," Sung Ho said bluntly. "You tried to commit genocide against my species. Why should we talk at all?" A bird-like alien stood. "Because you won, General. You proved the prophecy true, and now we must decide what kind of future we want." "What do you mean?" asked. The alien gestured to the hologram at the center of the room. It showed the current state of the galaxy: Council worlds in chaos, human colonies expanding, and dozens of species in open revolt. For 10,000 years, the Council has maintained peace through control. We designed our civilizations to be stable, predictable, and non-threatening. But you've shown everyone that there's another way. "Freedom," said quietly. "Chaos," a reptilian delegate corrected. "Your way leads to war, conflict, and death." "Our way leads to growth," Dong countered. "Yes, we fight. Yes, we struggle. But we also achieve things you never imagined. You've been in space for 70,000 years. In that time, you've built the same type of ships, used the same tactics, and followed the same patterns. Humans have been in space for 200 years, and we've already innovated beyond half your technology." "Because you had to," noted. "You faced challenges we designed out of our existence." "Exactly," Sung Ho said. "The precursors created you to be perfect. But perfection is stagnation. They created us by accident, but maybe that accident was necessary. Maybe the galaxy needed something to shake it up." A delegate with blue skin raised multiple hands. "What are you proposing, General?" Sung Ho looked at his team, then back at the Council. "I'm proposing we stop fighting and start cooperating, not under Council control, but as equals. You have stability and wisdom. We have adaptability and drive. Together, we could build something better than either of us could alone." "And the species currently in revolt?" asked. "Give them the choice," said. "Let them decide their own futures. If they want independence, grant it. If they want to stay in the Council, welcome them, but stop forcing them." The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates supported the idea. Others called it madness. But Sung Ho noticed that fewer voices opposed it than he expected. The siege had changed more than Earth. It had changed the entire galaxy's perspective. During a break in negotiations, Wu pulled Sung Ho aside. "General, I have the final precursor archive, the one from their home world. Jinwu and found it." "What does it say?" "The truth about why they created the prophecy." Wu activated his data pad. "The precursors didn't die from war or disease. They died from success. They achieved perfection, eliminated all challenges, and then had nothing left to strive for. They stagnated and faded away." Sung Ho felt the weight of those words. They created the Council species to be perfect like them. "And they created the prophecy as a warning," Wu continued. "Not a warning about humanity's danger, but a warning about suppressing humanity. If you try to contain mankind, you will start a war. If you try to destroy mankind, you will unite them. If you embrace mankind, you will evolve." The prophecy was instruction, Sung Ho realized. The precursors wanted their created species to learn from humanity, not fear us. Exactly. They knew they were dying out, so they left humanity as a gift. A species that would force the galaxy to keep growing, keep changing, keep striving. Sung-ho returned to the council chamber with new purpose. When the session resumed, he stood and addressed everyone. I've learned the full truth of the prophecy. The precursors didn't warn you about us. They warned you about yourselves, about what happens when a species becomes too comfortable, too stable, too perfect. They left us as a reminder that growth requires challenge. His eyes widened. They wanted us to learn from you. And they wanted us to learn from you, Sung-ho replied. Humans are too chaotic on our own. We need your wisdom, your patience, your long view of history. But you need our adaptability, our stubbornness, our refusal to accept that anything is impossible. The bird-like alien spoke thoughtfully. A symbiotic relationship. We provide stability, you provide change. We provide evolution, Dong added, together. The vote was close, but it passed. The council would be reformed. Species would have the right to self-determination. Humanity would be given equal status. And together, they would build a new galactic civilization. As they left the chamber, smiled. We did it. We actually did it. We survived, Sung-ho corrected. Now we have to prove we deserve what we fought for. Looked out at the stars. The prophecy said we would change the galaxy. I think we're just getting started. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but not in the way anyone expected. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it. The precursor home world was dead. Dr. Jinwoo Park stood on its surface and looked at the ruins of a civilization that had once controlled galaxies. The buildings were still standing after millions of years, made of materials that seemed immune to time. But they were empty, silent, haunting. This place gives me chills, said beside him. She had aged since their first discovery on 442B. They both had. The war, the negotiations, and the aftermath had taken their toll. The precursors built forever, Jinwoo observed. But they couldn't build a reason to keep living. They walked through the central plaza of what had once been a great city. Statues stood everywhere, depicting creatures of impossible beauty and grace, perfect beings, flawless in every way. That's what killed them, said. They achieved perfection and had nowhere left to go. Jinwoo activated his scanner. The final archive should be in the central structure. The coordinates from the prophecy led us here. The building ahead of them was massive, a pyramid that reached toward the alien sky. Its entrance opened as they approached, recognizing their presence. Inside, the air was cool and still. Emergency lighting flickered on, powered by systems that had waited millions of years to be activated. At the heart of the pyramid they found it, a crystalline structure identical to the one on 442B, but larger, ancient. This was the original archive, the source of all the prophecies. Jinwoo placed his hand on the crystal. It pulsed once, and a hologram filled the chamber. A precursor appeared, tall and elegant, with eyes that held infinite sadness. If you are seeing this, then we are gone, the precursor said in a language translator struggled with. I am Architect Prime, last of my kind. I record this message as my species faces its final days. The hologram showed the precursor civilization at its height, vast cities spanning entire worlds, ships that could cross galaxies in moments, technology that seemed like magic. We achieved everything we set out to do, Architect Prime continued. We eliminated disease, poverty, and conflict. We created perfect societies on 1,000 worlds. We even created new life, species designed to inherit the galaxy after we were gone. But in our pursuit of perfection, we made a fatal error. The image changed, showing precursors standing idle, staring at nothing. We removed challenge from our existence. Without struggle, we had no purpose. Without purpose, we had no reason to continue. One by one, my people simply stopped. Not death, not exactly, just an ending. Jinwoo felt a chill. They died of boredom, of having nothing left to achieve. In our final years, we searched the galaxy for a solution, the hologram continued. We found it on a small blue world in an unremarkable solar system. There, we discovered something we had never created: natural intelligence. Life that evolved through struggle, through survival, through constant adaptation. The hologram showed Earth, then early humans hunting with stone tools. This species fascinated us. We tried to eliminate them multiple times, not from malice but from curiosity. We wanted to see if they would survive. They always did. Gripped Jinwoo's arm. The ice ages, the asteroid impacts, the precursors caused them deliberately. We threw everything at humanity, Architect Prime said. Extinction events that would have ended any other species, but they survived, they adapted, they thrived. And we realized something profound: this was what we had lost: the ability to struggle, the need to survive, the drive to overcome. The hologram showed the precursors' final days. We knew we were dying, but we could save our children. The species we had created were stable, perfect, and doomed to our same fate. So we left them a gift: humanity. We left prophecies warning them about these strange creatures from Earth. But the warnings were not threats. They were instructions. Jinwoo's breath caught. The prophecy was a lesson. Embrace the chaos, Architect Prime said. Learn from the species that refuses to surrender. They will challenge you. They will frustrate you. They will show you that perfection is death and struggle is life. If you try to destroy them, you will fail. If you try to contain them, you will fail. But if you embrace them, if you learn from them, then perhaps you will avoid our fate. The hologram faded, leaving one final message floating in the air. Do not fear humanity. Fear becoming like us. The crystal went dark. Jinwoo and stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Jinwoo laughed. It started small, then grew into genuine mirth. What's funny? Asked. The entire galaxy was afraid of us, Jinwoo said. Wars were fought, people died. The Council almost destroyed Earth, all because they misunderstood the prophecy. The precursors weren't warning about humanity's danger. They were warning about the danger of suppressing humanity. Smiled sadly, and it took a war for everyone to understand. Maybe that was necessary, Jinwoo replied. Maybe the galaxy needed to see what happens when you try to stop humans. Maybe they needed to see us fight, survive, and still choose peace. They recorded everything and transmitted it to Earth. By the time they left the precursor home world, the galaxy was already changing. On the council station, Ambassador Lee presided over the signing of the new covenant. It was a document that redefined how species would interact. No more enforced compliance. No more suppression of developing civilizations. Freedom to choose, freedom to grow, freedom to fail. Representatives from 73 species signed it, more than the council had ever had. But this wasn't the council anymore. This was something new, something better. Regent signed last. His hands shook with age, but his signature was firm. I never thought I would live to see this day, he said too. A galaxy where my species learns from yours and yours learns from mine. The precursors planned it all along, replied. They knew we would clash. They knew there would be conflict, but they also knew we would eventually understand. A young voice spoke up. Does this mean no more fighting? Everyone turned to look at young Shin. She was 8 years old, the daughter of a human father and a mother. One of the first hybrid children, a living symbol of what cooperation could create. Knelt down to Young's level. There will always be disagreements, but we'll solve them with words instead of weapons. Most of the time, anyway. What about the rest of the time? Young asked. The rest of the time, said carefully, humanity will teach the galaxy how to survive, and the galaxy will teach humanity how to live. Young seemed to accept this. She went back to drawing pictures on her data pad, watched her and saw the future. Not a galaxy dominated by humans or council species, but one where both could exist and thrive. General Sung-ho stood at the signing ceremony, his uniform decorated with more medals than he wanted. We paid a high price for this peace, he said to Admiral Dong. 15,000 dead, Dong agreed. plus the civilians, plus all the people who died in the aftermath. I hope it was worth it." "It was," a new voice said. They turned to see now a commander wearing her own collection of medals. "My squadron died protecting Earth, but they didn't die to win a war. They died so young could exist, so humans and aliens could have children together, so we could build something better." Sung Ho nodded slowly. "You're right, this is what they died for." The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence for all who had fallen. Then music played. Food was served. People from dozens of species mingled and talked. It was chaotic, messy, and beautiful. Stood with Dr. Myung Han, watching the celebration. "Do you think the peace will last?" asked. Myung considered the question. She had spent the years after the siege refining her quantum technology, turning weapons into tools for exploration. "I think we'll have problems, conflicts, maybe even small wars, but we'll never go back to what we were before. The galaxy has learned that suppressing humanity doesn't work, and humanity has learned that we're not alone." "The precursors would be proud," said. "Maybe," Myung replied. "Or maybe they'd tell us we still have a lot to learn." On Earth, Captain Wu Nam gave a lecture to new military recruits. "You've all heard the prophecy," he told them. "You know what the precursors said about us, that we can't be stopped, that we refuse to surrender, that we turn everything into a weapon. All of that is true, but remember why we do these things." A young recruit raised her hand. "To survive, sir." "To protect," Wu corrected. "We're adaptable because we had to be. We're stubborn because giving up meant death. We're fighters because our world taught us to fight. But now we have a new mission. We're not just surviving anymore. We're helping others survive. We're teaching the galaxy that struggle isn't something to fear. It's something that makes you stronger." The recruits absorbed this. Wu looked at their young faces and saw hope. The war generation was passing. A new generation was rising, one that would know peace but remember the cost. Jinwu and returned to Earth and wrote their final report. It was thousands of pages long, detailing every aspect of the precursor civilization and the true meaning of the prophecy. But Jinwu added a final note. "The precursors feared they would be forgotten, but they won't be. They gave the galaxy two gifts: stable species that could build civilization and chaotic humanity that would keep that civilization from stagnating. Together, we are what they hoped to create. We are the synthesis of order and chaos, wisdom and daring, patience and passion. We are the future they died to make possible." Read it and smiled. "Perfect, but add one more thing." Jinwu looked at her. "What?" "Thank you," said. "We should thank them for the gift of existence, for the challenge of survival, for making us what we are." Jinwu added the words. Then he transmitted the report to every species in the new covenant. "Let them all know the truth. Let them all understand." That night stood on the observation deck of the council station and watched Earth spinning below. Young stood beside her, having escaped her parents to find the ambassador. "Miss, will humans always be special?" the child asked. "No," replied honestly. "Eventually, other species will adapt. They'll become more like us and we'll become more like them. The differences will blur." "Is that bad?" "No, sweetheart, that's evolution, that's growth. That's exactly what the precursors wanted." Young thought about this. The prophecy said humans would change the galaxy. "We did," confirmed. "But the galaxy is changing us too. That's how it should be." They stood together, human and hybrid, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the precursors had died hoping their children would survive. They had left humanity as a gift, a challenge, a spark that would keep the galaxy alive and growing. The prophecy had warned about one thing: mankind. But the warning was never about destruction. It was about transformation, about refusing to accept that anything was impossible, about turning hell into Tuesday and calling it progress. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was not the end. They were the beginning. And together, all species would build something the precursors could never imagine, a future worth fighting for.